Hello there, people of the internet. Welcome back to another video. Today we're doing something a little bit different, okay? My morbid curiosity is getting the better of me. And yesterday, whilst I was playing Overwatch 2, I was listening to one of these videos from this guy called Scary Interesting. And it was called A Collection of Horrible Fates. The first episode caught my attention. I don't know what it is about these kinds of videos. I guess it's not gruesome, because it doesn't show anything gory or anything like that. But it's just the subject matter fascinates me in a morbid way. I don't know, maybe you guys are the same, maybe I'm just a psychopath, who knows. We were going to watch the second version of this for today's video. If you guys have anything scary you want me to check out, join my Discord, that is in the description down below. Submit some scary stuff into the Scarebaz submission category, and I'll be sure to check it out if I think it looks good. So once again, this is Scary Interesting, and this is A Collection of Horrible Fates, number 2.
The stories you're about to hear should be a reminder that life is fragile. Some people are profoundly unlucky, ending up at the wrong place, at the wrong time, and sometimes around the wrong people. A warning before you continue, although this is the cold hard truth of these events, it is still very disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised.
That's your warning, guys. That's your warning.
On January 30th, 2016...
Oh, I've heard about this one. Straight away, I know what this one's going to be. If you haven't heard of this one, and you're scared of elevators, lifts, this one isn't for you.
Entered the elevator of her building in the Chinese city Xi'an. She pushed the button for the 15th floor and then stood in the elevator waiting for her floor. Just after the 11th floor and before the 12th floor, the elevator malfunctioned and came to a stop. Two maintenance workers were called to investigate the malfunction and figured out it was a mechanical issue that required a specific part in order to be repaired.
Jeez.
They then banged on the door and called out to see if anyone was in the elevator, but heard nothing from inside, and so they shut the power off.
Why would they not check the inside just to be certain?
This was a huge mistake. They should have opened the doors of the elevator to physically check if anyone was inside first.
That is, what's that called? Negligence? That is extreme negligence.
The building she lived in had two elevators, and so residents were instructed to use the other one until the malfunctioning one.
Could they not hear her screaming?
Inside the other elevator, Wu sat in complete darkness, trapped, and with no one coming to help her. The maintenance workers returned on March 1st to perform the repairs, and when they opened the doors, they were horrified to find the decomposing body of Wu.
That is crazy.
Inside of the elevator, they found scratch marks from where Wu was desperately trying to claw her way out, and her hands were supposedly mangled from scratching at the doors trying to escape.
Oh my god.
Although it's unclear exactly how long Wu survived in the elevator, it's likely that she died of dehydration a couple days after the power was cut off.
That is a disgusting way to go.
Alone and seems to have had minimal contact with friends and family because no one contacted the authorities in the month that she was missing to report her disappearance.
Oh god.
Foul play was ruled out, but the maintenance workers who negligently shut off the power were charged with involuntary manslaughter because of their carelessness.
Yeah, they got to live with that now.
43 years old at the time of her death.
That is so crazy.
On October 4th, 2007, a law known as Grant's Law was passed in British Columbia, Canada.
Okay.
This law required gas stations in the province to make two critical changes to their procedures. First, it required that drivers have to pay for their gas before filling up, and second, it required that all employees working between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. are accompanied by another employee.
Oh god, I know what this one's going to be as well, I think. Oh god, is it? They're not going to show the picture, are they?
Had it been in place on March 8th, 2005, it could have prevented something horrifying from happening. That night, on March 5th, 2005, Grant DePatie was working at a gas station in Maplewood,
this is a different one, okay.
At some point during his shift, 16-year-old Darnell Pratt pulled into the gas station to get gas.
Okay.
Unbeknownst to Grant, Darnell was drunk and never intended on paying for the gas. After he pumped his gas, he got into his car and began driving away. When Grant saw this, he tried to cut Darnell off in an attempt to prevent him from stealing the gas. Grant got in front of his car thinking that Darnell would stop, but Darnell didn't.
God.
He hit Grant and kept going.
Jesus!
Grant then got lodged somewhere underneath the car and was subsequently dragged for 7.5 kilometers before Darnell finally stopped. This resulted in Grant's death, although it's unclear whether he was killed before or after the car stopped. It's also unclear whether or not Darnell even knew that he hit Grant or not, as the details of the case are...
Bruh, some people should just never drive. I mean, that is ridiculous. Holy crap.
However, Darnell was charged as an adult and sentenced to 12 years in prison for manslaughter. Public outcry from this tragedy is what eventually led to the passing of Grant's Law.
Yeah, because there was that girl as well. It's a horrifying story. I think it was on Nexpo's Disturbing Things Found on the Internet.
Duncan was born on May 26, 1877 in San Francisco, California. Her parents divorced soon after she was born, and so Isadora was raised primarily by her mother, Dora. Her mother was a piano teacher and fostered an appreciation for the arts in her children from a young age.
Okay.
At just 6 years old, Isadora began teaching dance-like movements to the other children in her neighborhood. By the age of 10, the class had become so large that Isadora requested to leave school and teach dance full-time with her older sister, Elizabeth. She earned an income from that point on, and this sparked her career as a dancer and performer. She went on to live in Chicago and New York, working as a performer before moving to Europe. Her style was controversial for the time, as it defied some of the common conventions of the more popular ballet, but she has since become known as the mother
of
modern dance. Despite her success, Isadora suffered a number of horrific tragedies throughout her lifetime.
Oh God.
First, in 1913, her 2 children and their nanny drowned when the car they were driving fell into the Seine River. In 1922, she married poet Sergei Yesenin, but the marriage would soon fall apart due to Sergei's worsening mental health issues. Then in the mid-1920s, Sergei would commit suicide as a result of these issues.
Oh my God.
On the evening of September 14th, 1927, Isadora was a passenger in the Amilcar CG-SS. This early car was a convertible with big spoked wheels, much like those of a modern-day bicycle. That night, Isadora wore a long, flowing scarf that was gifted to her by her friend Mary Desty. Before leaving in the car, Mary had actually asked Isadora to wear a full cape because of the cold weather.
Yeah, let me guess, it's going to get caught in the spokes and it's going to freaking rip her neck.
And because the car
break her neck.
Driving in was a convertible, Isadora refused the full cape but accepted the scarf. As the car accelerated, Isadora's scarf got wrapped up in the spokes of the wheels and ripped her from the vehicle, killing her almost instantly. Reports from the incident indicate that she was either killed from the force of the scarf pulling on her neck, or from how violently she impacted the ground after being thrown.
Bruh, is this a real, like, this is blurred, guys, so...
vehicle. In either case,
is it an actual picture?
She died from a broken neck. After the incident, her remains were cremated and placed next to those of her children in a cemetery in France.
Damn. That is ridiculous.
51-year-old Ronald McClegish lived alone in a bungalow in Cambridgeshire, England. He hadn't always lived alone, however. In fact, he had barely lived alone for 2 weeks when the events of this story took place. Ronald had recently hit a patch of bad luck. He was already a divorced father of 2, and then he and his current girlfriend decided to break up, and so she moved out of his bungalow.
I don't like this kind of layout. Like, I mean, I know there's probably curtains there, but it's just like a big window into your life. I feel like you just wouldn't be able to relax. I mean, it looks nice, like in the autumn, you know, but I mean, it's maybe winter as well. It'll look nice. But I can't help but feel like I'll just be... have you ever seen the film Hush? It's like this.
Leaving him to live alone. About 2 weeks later, he was cleaning a large walk-in wardrobe in his home. The doors of this wardrobe opened outward, and perpendicular to this wardrobe was another freestanding dresser. While he was inside, the freestanding dresser somehow toppled over and wedged itself in front of the door of the walk-in wardrobe. With the doors now closed, he was in complete darkness, so he went over to try to push the doors open, but they wouldn't budge.
Oh dear.
He likely tried to shout for help, but again, he lived alone, so no one was able to hear him. In the dark, in the wardrobe, he felt around to find something to help free himself and found a pipe that ran along the wall. He pulled on it and it broke off the wall, but that caused freezing cold water to spray all over the wardrobe. Now in the dark...
no, I shouldn't be laughing. This is a real case.
Freezing cold water spraying all over him, he started smashing the pipe against the doors and the walls of the wardrobe. Apparently, his neighbors even heard digging noises coming from his house, but they never pursued it any further. Eventually, the digging stopped, and Ronald went silent.
Oh my God.
On February 15th, 2 officers went to his home after friends and family reported not having seen or heard from Ronald in about 2 weeks. It would take the 2 of them to remove the heavy wardrobe, and inside, they discovered Ronald's body.
Oh, I guess that's what you get for being rich, guys, okay? The richness killed him somehow.
It was determined by...
He just had a normal wardrobe, you know, that would be his size. He might be able to just push it off. But no, he needed this double wardrobe.
By the coroner that Ronald had died roughly a week earlier from bronchitis.
Bronchitis.
It's unclear whether or not he had developed it during the incident or if it was an existing bout that was worsened by the conditions inside the wardrobe.
That is mad.
On April 10th, 1917, 18-year-old Grace Fryer started a job as a dial painter at the United States Radium Corporation.
Radium?
World War I had started 4 days prior, and with 2 brothers serving in the army, Grace wanted to help out the war effort in any way she could. Hundreds of other women also flocked to this job to help out in the war effort, and because it paid 3 times more than the average factory job at the time.
I wonder why.
Working as a dial painter put these women in the top 5% nationally based on their wages. Their task at the studios was to use the newly discovered element radium to paint watches and military dials.
Oh, God.
In addition to the wages, the radium
Well, they didn't know
itself
that it was
part
radioactive.
of the appeal of the job. Workers soon became known as ghost girls because they would literally glow in the dark after work because of the radium. They would even wear nice dresses to the factory so they could go right to the dance halls after work and glow miraculously.
Oh, my God. So they were just freaking walking radiation corpses at this
Everyone's
point.
Amazement. Some workers even went as far as to paint their teeth with the radium paint to really stand out.
What kind of Mad Max world is this?
At the studio, they used a technique known as lip pointing, where they would slip the paintbrushes between their lips and create a fine point. Each time they would do this, they would ingest a small amount of paint.
Oh my God.
Naturally, prior to starting work there, girls would ask whether or not this was dangerous, and managers always reassured them that it was perfectly safe. This, of course, was not true.
No, it wasn't.
Radium had been known to cause harm since its discovery by Marie Curie 20 years earlier. Marie Curie herself had suffered radiation burns from handling the radium, and a number of people had already died from radium poisoning.
Brilliant.
People in the plant even knew it was dangerous because the men who handled it in large quantities wore lead aprons.
You know, one thing I've noticed, guys, about like safety precautions when it comes to industrial stuff and like machinery and stuff, is that the precautions are written in blood. Like they're there, obviously. And those who came before us, you know, with basically sat on the shoulders of giants right now because they had to suffer through that for us to be safe. You know what I mean? Like, imagine the amount of deaths and the amount of, like, imagine just going to work today, modern day, not knowing any better. Like, I bet it was just a normal thing back then. Like, oh yeah, freaking, we lost Jerry. He went under the machine, crushed, came out like a cube. Rest in peace. But they replaced him within the hour, so it's all good. It's mad. I've got nothing but respect for the people that like worked back in these days, because obviously they knew no better.
It with ivory tongs. The dial painters, on the other hand, never even got a warning. This is because the thinking at the time was that radium was not harmful in small amounts. It was even touted as health promoting and was used in all sorts of products like radium tonic, cosmetics, butter, milk, and even toothpaste.
Oh my God.
Newspapers even claimed it added years to your life.
Jesus.
This false perception was based on research conducted by the radium firms, who had built an industry around the lucrative product.
Of
so
course.
They ignored all the danger signs in favor of profits.
Jeez.
In 1922, a friend of Grace's named Molly Maggia had to quit because she came down with an unknown sickness. It started off as a simple toothache, and so she went to the dentist and ended up having the tooth pulled. Then it happened to another tooth, and then another, and each one that fell out was replaced by a dark, oozing ulcer. Her limbs then began to ache, and it got so bad that she was eventually unable to walk.
Oh my God.
By May of that year, Molly had lost almost all of her teeth, and the infection had spread to her lower jaw, the roof of her mouth, and even the bones in her ears. When she went to the dentist was poking her.
Is this the story about the woman with the frickin'... Literally, her jaw fell off.
In her mouth, and he literally pulled her jawbone out with his fingers because it was so brittle and decayed. Molly was literally falling apart, and Grace was beginning to have issues now too.
Oh my God.
She started getting pain in her jaw and feet, and soon many of the other girls began to have issues as well. On September 12th, 1922, the infection spread to Molly's jugular vein, and at 5 p.m. that day, blood began to fill her mouth.
Oh my God.
No way of stopping the bleeding, Molly would pass away at the age of 24.
That's crazy.
Doctors were puzzled by her symptoms and death and had no idea what to make of it, and one by one, Molly's colleagues began dying as
I wonder
well.
what it is. They all work with radium.
Their employer denied any responsibility for almost 2 years, but as news continued to spread, the business suffered. In 1924, they hired an independent expert who would confirm the link between the radium and the health issues suffered by the workers. The president of the company was outraged and paid for new studies to be conducted to confirm findings that denied any link.
Wow.
They then went on to lie to the Department of Labor about the previous findings and denounced the claims made by the women as simply trying to have the company pay for their medical expenses.
Oh my God.
By now, it was obvious to the women that radium was dangerous, but the public still thought radium was perfectly safe. In 1925, a man named Harrison Martland performed a number of tests that confirmed the link between radium and the health problems. He discovered that although it was dangerous to be around radium, ingesting it, even in small quantities, was many thousands of times worse.
Yeah.
The radium built up in the bones of the women who ingested it and emitted radiation 24/7.
Oh my god,
The
man.
radiation would literally cause the bones of the women to decay to the point of being like a honeycomb.
Oh!
Grace's back eventually decayed to
They
that
just turn into a jelly.
point, and she needed to wear a steel back brace all day long. Other women's legs shortened or even spontaneously
But literally, your whole like skeletal structure would be like taken over by like a robot or like a bionic parts.
fractured, and many of them suffered from horrible cancers. Once they ingested enough of the radium, they would actually even glow permanently. Most of them wouldn't notice until one day randomly they would see themselves in a mirror at nighttime and notice they were glowing.
That's
and
crazy.
from the time that they made that awful discovery, it was already too late. There was no way of removing the radium.
Nope.
During this time period, the radium industry repeatedly tried to discredit the work of Harrison Martin.
Oh my god.
Over this time period as well, the workers afflicted by radium poisoning would go on to banting.
Isn't it crazy, guys? The lengths that some people go to just to turn a profit and just to like turn a blind eye to anything, just so that they can line their pockets with money. Like fuck human lives, you know, and suffering and all that stuff. We're making money here. We're making bank. So shut up. I mean, what kind of... That is
together
mad.
to lead a movement against the radium industry. This was an uphill battle, unfortunately, and most lawyers wouldn't even take the case. They either didn't believe the women, or were scared of the legal weight possessed by the radium firms, or simply didn't think they could overcome the existing legislation. Because at the time, workers who received radium poisoning in a workplace did not receive any compensation.
That's
In
mad.
addition, the statute of limitations was only 2 years, whereas many of the women didn't start to show symptoms for up to 5 years after they began ingesting the radium. Finally, in 1927, a lawyer took the case for Grace and 4 of her colleagues.
Okay.
The women would eventually settle out of court because they had limited time to live at that point, and the company seemed content to drag out the proceedings for as long as possible.
Oh my god,
Although
they're
this wasn't
evil.
a perfect outcome, it did finally give credibility to their movement, and the case spread like wildfire in the media. Soon, plant workers at radium factories countrywide were outraged, and company meetings became riots. Continuing to deny responsibility, the company took out ads to deny health issues and went as far as to interfere with the autopsies conducted on these women. It was later revealed that they even stole some of the radium-riddled bones to cover up their
Oh
culpability.
my god.
One by one, dial painters died of the same jaw problems and other huge cancerous bone tumors. One woman named Irene Law died of a massive pelvic tumor that was reportedly the size of 2 footballs.
Jesus.
In the mid-1930s, following the death of Grace Fryer, a woman named Catherine Donahue continued the fight for the workers. Catherine went on to develop a grapefruit-sized tumor on her hip and lost all of her teeth and then eventually her jawbone.
Jesus.
This culminated in her attending court from
Literally,
her
the
deathbed
hills have eyes, man.
against her doctor's advice to give testimony. The case was finally won by the workers, and some semblance of justice was served.
What did they do
The
to
case of
him?
the Radium Girls would go on to become a historic case and one of the first that held a company responsible for the health of its workers. This case also led to the implementation of many life-saving regulations and the establishment of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, also known as OSHA. Prior to
Okay.
its establishment, 14,000 people died annually of work-related causes,
Oh my god.
and that figure is only 4,500 people today.
So 4,500 people die a year today from workplace incidents.
With a half-life of 1,600 years, the bones of the women who met their horrible ends from the poisoning will continue to glow for hundreds of years.
Oh shit.
If you made it this far, I just wanted to thank you for watching. This is
Hey.
the second video of the series Horrible Fates, so you may want to check out the other video in the series as well. If you want to support the channel, liking the video and dropping a comment down below helps push the video to a wider audience.
We shall do that for you, Scary Interesting. I'm going to like the video. I've already subscribed. You guys should definitely subscribe. But yeah, this guy caught my attention because I love stuff like this. I don't know, like, not in a weird way, but it just, I guess my morbid curiosity gets the better of me sometimes. And it just like, intrigues me. Like, the negligence and just like, I guess it opens your eyes to the world, like, you know, to what's happening out there and, you know, how lucky we are, I guess, or I am, to be in the position that I'm in. And it goes to show how, you know, sacred life is, how it can just be taken away at any moment, and we should just really, really enjoy every single moment and be present, you know. But guys, go subscribe to Scary Interesting. Go check out this series for yourself. If you want me to watch another episode, let me know. But yeah, if you enjoyed my reaction, why not like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.